Hi beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jimmy from the Webonaut and this is the Advent Calendar Tricks for Bricks. A little tip per day to give you superpowers in Bricks Builder. Let's celebrate and see what today has to offer. Today is day 4. Yesterday we had a look at a text wrap property called pretty, but there is another value that is really awesome, and this value is balance. Again, another CSS tip found on Twitter, but is at least to me a game changer. Thanks Martin for sharing it. Well, funny enough, when researching about pretty and balance, it seems like there is quite some confusion on when to use what and for what purpose, so I will clarify this, of course. And after reading a complete article from WebKit about pretty and balance, I came to the conclusion that both are very different in terms of wrapping and are meant for different styles preferences. Across a lot of articles, you will also read that the pretty is designed for paragraphs and balance is designed for headings and short text. But in reality, here is how you should look at it, and I quote, "Pretty can be applied to anything on the page, body text, headlines, captions, teasers, etc. Look to see what it does and if you like the effect. If you have incredibly long paragraphs, or better said, long body text without any paragraphs breaking it up, think in the hundreds or thousands of lines of text, test performance first. Also, if you're animating the text in such a way that it rewraps as it animates, test to see if it's a good idea. Balance should be used for anything where you want all the lines to be the same length, especially headlines and captions, etc. And where you do not mind if the overall group of lines is narrower than its container. Don't use it on long passages of text that doesn't make sense." Well, as you heard, when having a paragraph with a lot of lines, like hundreds or thousands, it could have an impact on the performance. But nowadays, having that much text on the site is quite rare, and we tend to shorten the text to the essential. You can read all about it in WebKit article, link in the description. Now it's time for some action, so let's jump into Bricks. Okay, so we are back into Bricks, and as usual, we're gonna select the text where we want to apply the CSS to. Go to CSS, click on the CSS tab, and then we have here the code that we had yesterday. Here, under the same selector, we're just gonna click enter and add text wrap property, same as yesterday, but this time we're gonna put balance. And as you can see, it changes automatically the text. Look, if I take it off one more time so you can see, up, up. Cool, right? Okay, but now we really need to understand the differences between balance and pretty. So let me show you right here, and we're gonna go in the front end actually. Let's go. Okay, so our first, second, third, fourth. Here we go. So we have 3 columns with the exact same elements, a heading, a photo, another heading, and a text. Here we have the text wrap auto. Here we have the text wrap balance. And here we have the text wrap pretty. Here is where it becomes really interesting. So on the auto, as you can see, we have here an orphan word. That's what we saw yesterday in the video. That's obviously not really nice. Here we have the balance, and like I said earlier, the balance value is designed to make all the lines be more or less the same length. Whereas this one, you can clearly see that we have a last line that is far from being the same length as the other ones. However, we do not have any orphan words here at the end, and that's pretty awesome. Now, the difference is that, for example, here in terms of design, it might disturb some people to have such a gap when you're just under the featured image, for example, in that configuration. So this one might be more appropriate for that, but this, depending on the context, might actually look better than this one on some other places of your website. And this is really why it's important to actually test both to see what actually your preferences are. Here again, we have another text, and as you can see here, we have space on your website here at the bottom, which is a short last line. And here the balance is going to really try to bring it all the way to the end of the block text. And that's pretty cool. And as you can see, there is not much difference in between the balance and the pretty. However, we can still see it. Here, if you check at the text word, it finishes on the top of the S of website right under. Whereas here, we have the text word, which starts at the I of the website word. So you can see there is a tiny subtle change here. And this is made because the pretty balance, it's made because the pretty value is actually trying to escape to have big rag here at the end. Here, you can see that the rag is way sharper than, for example, here. All right, I hope it all makes sense, but to me, this has been so interesting to dive in and see the little differences, just subtle, and how such a small thing can make such a big difference. And that's it for today. You can find all the relevant information about today's trick in my community, The Space. It's free to join and I'd be very happy to see you there. Link in the description. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's Tricks for Bricks. And as usual, stay sexy, keep spreading love, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye guys!